Wow, yesterday was so interesting. Oh my God. It was like, yesterday was crazy as far as the hormones, the emotions. Some of my haters would say I was triggered. Yeah, you would absolutely be right, my different haters. Um, but it wasn't all for naught. It wasn't a wasted trigger, a wasted hormone. It was a trigger, a hormone, an emotion yesterday that actually served me well. And how many of you can you say that when you are triggering your emotions, does it actually serve you well? Well, I talk about, you know, words and actions and how, we don't always align our actions with our words. And so I've been working on this whole thing called balance for such a long time, trying to strike a balance, trying to exemplify and show you examples of what balance is. But yeah, some of you are going to see what it is I'm saying and doing and reacting and say, okay, she's saying one thing and doing another. And you might probably be right because when you're trying to work on yourself, you know in your head what is right, what you have to do. But the body and the mind, or the body and the spirit, may not always be aligned, but it's trying to get there. Okay? Now, the same thing could be said for everybody that's out there that I have been demonizing. Okay? Yes, because I made some revelations yesterday that was pretty profound. And we all have wonderful intentions. We all do. Nobody really truly is trying to hurt anybody else. Nobody really truly is. But we have to look at actions and words and see if they align. And then we also look at the body and the mind and the spirit. All three of them conjoin to say, okay, is what she's saying and what she's doing, is it aligning with everything that is with the body, mind, and spirit? The hormones, the mind, and then the physical body. And so I'm seeing now that, yes, everybody has good intentions out there. They all do. They're trying to get there. Some may not get there. As you can see, there are people out there in the holistic allopathic world. They're trying to get there. They're doing everything they can to get there. They're trying this, trying that, and they will try in vain because they haven't maybe discovered or considered another way of doing something. So they keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But they're still trying to help people. They're still trying to help their patients. They're still trying to help their friends and family, even though it really isn't helping them, but they don't know this. They're just trying. There's a misalignment somewhere with their body, mind, and spirit. And I've been noticing my own misalignments and alignments and misalignments because yesterday I'm realizing that it was a major shift yesterday because, first of all, I got my menses. And menses means, in a lot of ways, it is releasing the excess, the toxicity, whatever, the excess garbage that's in your uterus. Not garbage, but it's just like your eggs and all the other material in your uterus that would be looking to make sure a baby can be sustained. And since the baby wasn't, or the egg wasn't fertilized, now all this blood is coming out. So it was very interesting that yesterday I had a revelation about balance. I had my period, dealing and looking at the whole thing with the trolls. And then, yeah, of course, it's like Dr. Phil anniversary. It's like all happened, like that whole everything, like this day and yesterday was like a real true awakening of sorts. Because that revelation that I had yesterday was about that where I'm not an activist. I'm not demonizing anybody anymore. I'm finally realizing that my actions that I have been exhibiting, as far as what looks like I'm being triggered or I'm just pissed off at people out there, no, I'm realizing that nobody's the enemy out there. There's nobody to blame, because now we finally figured out how we can protect ourselves out there. Now we realize there's no one to blame. There's no one to demonize. There is no enemy. And there is no enemy. And so I'm left with, well, what's next for me besides my book? Yes. What's next? My second book. What's next? What other platform besides J-Juice can I go on? And there really isn't, because remember, the platform that I was taking on was the anti-vax, or going after the anti-vax crowd. Okay, so you saw that misalignment of, I'm saying stop being an activist, but yet I'm being an activist against an activist. Do you see? Isn't that a trip? And so, yeah, there was a misalignment in some of my actions and then my words, because I'm still working towards that balance. And when you're working towards balance, you're not always going to be speaking and acting in alignment. And I see it in myself too, because yesterday I was just like, well, now nobody, I can't really, I mean, I don't blame anyone for being upset. I don't blame anybody for having a fear. I don't blame, like, I understand why people take on these specific positions. And I'm not going to, like, I'm not going to attack them or demonize them and get on a platform and get this hormonal rush. Now it's like, how do we educate without blaming, demonizing, and going from that really low vibrational sequence that we all hear about? And so now it's more, I mean, and I'm still kind of left with like, what is my life now? I mean, yes, we're writing a book, and I'm going to, and where else? I mean, I'm speak more about J-Juice, but how much can you speak about J-Juice? It's, you drink the juice, you understand the healing symptoms. If you feel that if you feel afraid, then cut back. Okay. It's like, it's, you use my discussion forum to try to figure out what works for you in your world. If you think something is dangerous, then don't do it. Okay. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, or you cut back, or, so it's like, okay, so what's next? So that's kind of the space that I'm in. And it's very unsettling when you're not. Now, I know people say, well, you can go get a job. Yes, I could go get a job, but I don't know. Now that people know who I am, getting a job would be kind of like crazy. So yeah, it is working on this second book, of course, the cookbook, all of that. Just laying more of the groundwork. But I am definitely left with just a weird feeling of not feeling that unification. And so when I fell yesterday, that was probably my whole, just all of my hormones just kind of like all over the place, because I wasn't paying attention, distracted, and trying to figure out this new space that I'm in. And it's weird, because even when I was totally against the activists, I was an activist against the activists. And so anything that you say that you don't like, you actually exemplify. And that is so true. That is so true. That couldn't be any more true. And so that's a major, profound thing. And then and then being caught up in the troll stuff, which it's been a while since I've been caught up in the troll stuff. It's been a while. So it's like, I was caught up in it just because circumstances allowed it, and I kind of was in a little cycle of whatever. But then I'm like, as I'm blocking people that are in that troll group and looking at who our mutual friends are in that troll group, I'm like, what is this? This is a waste of time. But I needed to loop for a minute. I needed to sit and loop for a minute, because it's like revisiting. It's almost like revisiting a year ago, because a year ago I was dealing with the same thing, trolls and and reacting and emoting and just all over the place. So yesterday was probably another healing. Even though I fell down the stairs, not a big deal, but I fell down the stairs, in which my side is still a little bit sore, but nothing, it's not super bad. And I still made dinner a little bit for my husband. Okay, I reheated some leftovers. So for those of you who are like, oh, she couldn't make dinner because she had a cut on her hand. Yes. Yeah, I'm a baby when it comes to pain. I'm a baby when it comes to anything that is an upset of homeostasis. I don't like upset of homeostasis. I don't like change, but if change has to happen, it'll happen. Okay. I'll deal with it. I did the dishes. Okay. I got my hands wet. So whatever. But yesterday was difficult because it's like, and I don't even want to say born again, but it is finally when you see the worlds that you were in colliding, and then you're finally seeing that you're finally now finally experiencing balances where there's nothing experiencing balance, where there's nothing that you can blame anymore. There's no platforms to be on except for Jilly Juice and Living Indefinitely. Those are the only platforms. There is nothing anymore that I can demonize, because no matter what, if you do pot, if you do different immunotherapies, if you do different antibiotics, if you do different massage things, which okay, people do, but you got to incorporate J juice. But if you are a massage therapist and you're taking in people who are so highly mutated and you're taking in all of their negative energy, you got to be drinking the J juice on a massive level. And you can't infuse your hormones onto them because they got to do the J juice to get the benefit. So it's like, it's a one-sided deal, even though they're giving you money, but then they're also destroying you. So then you have to like, okay, for me to be a massage therapist or anybody, it almost seems like J juice has to be somewhere in the mix, but you can't force that onto your clients. They're coming to you for manipulations to their body to release hormones and release pathogens, but there's nowhere in their life protocol, as well as in your massage therapy protocol, to be able to manage and deal with all of those pathogens being released from the lymph nodes, and then all of those hormones being released to then go and anesthetize the person to give them that relief. So it's like, so you got to figure out, if you're going to be doing stuff out there in the allopathic holistic, you got to figure out if J juice can even be implemented somewhere to help save you. And if it means that you drink J juice, but they don't, then is it really serving your client? Are you really actually helping your client? Even though you're doing J juice, it's not going to translate in their world. How can you take J juice and have it translate in the world that you are in if you are doing all the different therapies out there? And so that's the only thing that I say to somebody, that if you are going to be dealing with the holistic world, how is J juice going to be implemented for you and the client? Not just you and the client doesn't have any kind of benefit of understanding this information. No, how can both parties, the recipient and the giver, both come out on top? Not one coming out way more on top, because they're giving you money and you're doing J juice, and then you're releasing negative energy in their body and releasing hormones. So that person is now at more of a disadvantage, and you're coming out always on top. That's not really where, what I think should happen in any type of client-patient relationship. So where can J juice benefit both parties if you're going to be in the holistic allopathic? Okay, so for you and your clients. So it's like, so I really can't demonize really anybody, because as long as the J juice is somewhere in the mix somewhere, then it's really, but if it's not, then I responded to a lady today that I didn't really respond to. I just deleted her email and I responded on Facebook. But she's a twice cancer survivor. A twice cancer survivor. And so when you're a twice cancer survivor, you got to really look at why it is that you survived cancer twice. Okay? So now my focus is going to be on, really, why would you survive cancer twice? What would make you be okay with possibly a third time? Because what would stop you from a third time? what were your protocols prior? So what had you be cured of cancer the first time and the second time? So when there's a third time, do you think you'll survive the treatments? Did you do chemotherapy? Did you do cannabis? Did you do some other type of anti-inflammatory, antibiotic that blocks the prostaglandin hormone from the healing process? Okay? And so really, this whole fear of J-juice is unfounded, because really you should be fearful of the fact that you have to keep surviving all of these diseases. You have to keep curing yourself of all of these different diseases. And so right there told me, when she said I'm a twice cancer survivor, I'm gonna be looking at the population and be like, okay, so you're a kid, you survived cancer as a child with cannabis. Okay, fine. And then when you're like a teenager, oh, now you survived some kind of leukemia or something with another cure. And then when you're an adult, you're going to survive another cancer. And then all of a sudden, you're taking all of these natural killer cell type stuff. Who are you going to blame when you don't survive that fourth round of cancer or disease or chronic illness? Now, it would be convenient to blame jelly juice, but they wouldn't even try jelly juice at all. The only time a person could blame jelly juice for them dying is if they were already in hospice, because the body's already giving out and the person has to stay on the J juice in order for the cells to repair and then purge out all the nasty stuff in their body. And they got to go through the pain. They have to deal with the prostaglandin hormone, and it's going to be painful. When you're in hospice and then you do the J juice and you don't like the feeling of the prostaglandin hormone releasing the healing process, the pain process, and you get off, that's when someone could blame jelly juice. But here's the thing, anyone else aside from that really could, they really couldn't blame jelly juice because it's not antibiotic. But that's what a person could potentially do if they really wanted to. Not that they could prove it in court, but that's what they could do. But yeah, if you're a twice cancer survivor, you wouldn't die from jelly juice. As much as you want to believe all the trolls that are out there, you wouldn't die from jelly juice. But the fact that you won't even try it, hey, you'll never ever blame jelly juice for your death, because you'll never try it. You'll go through another experimental procedure because you're not looking to really be proactive. You're looking for that quick fix. So I'm not even going to say the doctors are bad. I'm not even going to say the FDA or the CDC or any of those people are bad. No, they're giving people what they want. People want shortcuts. They're going to give them shortcuts. And there's money in shortcuts. So it really, nobody is a demon, because people ask for what they want. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Okay, that's the whole thing, is people want shortcuts. They want, to be reactive. Okay. So when you have more degradation in your body, and you die, you can't blame the medical industry. You can't blame the vaccine industry. You can't blame anybody. The reason being is because you've asked for these types of methods and protocols. You've asked for it. When we actually stop asking for shortcuts, we might actually get a different result. People have been asking for a while, how can we live longer? Finally, all of us figured out a formula, but then you got to deal with a hormone that will put you in pain because it's a healing hormone. Okay? But people don't want to be in pain. So if you don't want to be in pain, guess what you're going to do? You're going to do every single thing out there but jelly juice. And then you wonder why your body's degrading. You wonder why. You wonder why you're on a death trajectory. You wonder why you're blaming everybody. You wonder why you're on a bandwagon doing this, doing that, and not at all paying attention to your own family and your own body and everything. So it's time that we change the request, but that's going to come in time. Okay, so if you're a twice cancer survivor, I'm wondering if you're going to be a 3-time cancer survivor, Or your claim to fame is when you're on your deathbed in hospice. Well, I'm a twice cancer survivor, but I guess the third time ain't gonna work. That's really a sad state of affairs. That sucks. That sucks. That's tough. I would not wish that upon anybody, because I would be so afraid of that third time, that fourth time. And there is nothing in the allopathic holistic world that is going to prolong your life, that is going to do anything revolutionary. You might buy maybe a few years, if that. Because most likely, if you're a twice cancer survivor, you may have superficially changed your diet, but you haven't fixed the mutations. The mutations are still there, which means those mutations are going to become bigger because you live in an advanced society. There's negative elements all over the place, chipping away at the weaknesses in your body from not only the cancer, but also the methods to cure the cancer. So actually, whenever you take methods in the allopathic holistic industry, solely those methods, you are probably twice or three times worse than where you were before if you hadn't just left it alone and done something different like Jilly Juice. Because if you're diagnosed where you're taking protocols recommended, and some people say, oh, you have false positives, but hey, maybe you could have left it alone and been fine. But some people say, oh, she's saying don't take the test. That has to be criminal. Don't take the test. Yeah, I saw it in that troll group. But I'm saying, hey, you live by the test, you die by the test. Don't get tested, this and that. Well, yeah, when you live by the test, you will die by the test. Because what happens is that when you take their protocols, like they say, oh yeah, you're stage 1 cancer, and you're taking now chemotherapy or cannabis, you're taking extra amounts of antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. Well, that does, yeah, it'll kill the cancer. So yeah, your cancer numbers are going to be down, but guess what? Your antibodies are going to be up. And when your antibodies are going to be up, your hormone levels are going to be up. So now you already have you already have an imbalance for having stage 1 cancer. So the imbalance is already there. And then you're taking poisons to go after that cancer. So then your antibody levels are going to be up, which means that you're at risk for infection and rapid aging, and then triggering some other disease, and then possibly another round of cancer. So you're 4 or 5 times probably, or 3 times or 2 times worse than where you were to begin with if you hadn't tried to go and lower those numbers using the system's methodologies. So you can say, I'm allowed to have a belief system. Facebook is a different venue than a website subject to the Federal Trade Commission. Facebook, you can say pretty much almost anything within community standards. Now, they are cracking down on the anti-vaxxers. They are cracking down on the anti-vaxxers. There are groups that are being shut down. They are, because it's become out of control. It is seriously, the anti-vax platform is seriously become out of control. So yeah, people are saying, oh yeah, they're demolishing free speech. Well, not really, because Facebook is a place, it's a private company. It's not like the World Wide Web. Facebook has their terms and conditions. They have community standards. And it's always subject to change at any given moment. Nothing is set in stone with Facebook. It's not the government. Facebook is not the government. As much as people want to say, oh yeah, Facebook is government. No, Facebook is not an extension of the Constitution. The extension of the Constitution is out there on the street where you can go and protest and speak out against your government. But when you're on Facebook, Facebook is a private entity. Mark Zuckerberg is giving us a platform to be able to speak our minds within reason. So find a different way. If they don't like people talking about anti-vax this and pro-vax that, or this or that, or medical disinfo, then speak from a different platform, from a different point of view, so you're not triggering the political platforms that are out there. because we have so many imbalanced people who say one thing and do another. Okay? And it's becoming even more so. I mean, the internet is its own programming in of itself, and we are seeing a rapid rise, acceleration in cancer, disease, and chronic illness and mental illness. And so when you have all of this medical disinfo, misinfo, and coupled with mentally imbalanced people, that's a tinderbox. Somebody's got to do the smackdown on it. And so if you are an intelligent thinking person and you have science to back you up, then you would speak from an intelligent point of view, utilizing substantiated medical outcomes that everybody can go and Google and look up themselves through PubMed or Johns Hopkins, and then get some kind of satisfactory, okay, I get it now, without triggering mentally imbalanced people. So that's what I had to learn, was to speak from an intelligent point of view, not from hatred or not from an attacking mode or demonizing or making these correlations that have no business being, made. And so that's why I was left a little bit like, all right, what's next? Okay, yeah. I mean, what else is there when you can't demonize it? I mean, when you don't get that hormonal response. I mean, what is life when you can't chase your pleasure centers, right? No, but it's testing yourself to see how educated you can come off. No matter how a person reacts to it, doesn't matter, because they're going to react from their own education or uneducation. Okay, not everybody can comprehend what you have to say. The ones that do will get it. The ones that don't wouldn't get it anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But if you can really come off from an educated point of view when it comes to your beliefs and your platforms, you will fare better and come off more credible than coming off from a hormonal reactive stance. However, you will be triggered by people. There will be people that will go and try your patience in so many different ways. And then this is where the J juice comes in, because then you will establish boundaries. You will say, hey, just like when you tell a child, please don't do this again, and the child does it, and then you say, okay, well, if you do this again, there are going to be consequences, and the child still does it. Are you going to hold that child accountable, or are you going to let that child say, hey, I could do whatever the hell I want, and there's no consequences? That's what we have in our worlds, where we have parents and people who make empty threats and don't follow through, and then people can say whatever. Okay? So it's, we have free speech. We do. Facebook, you can say almost anything you want within reason, within community standards. When you're out there on the public square, you can say basically almost anything you want. So as long as it's not disrupting, so as long as it's not inciting violence or any type of political type of thing where you're trying to overthrow something. Okay, we're not trying to do that. But I mean, you see that like KKK and the Nazi whatever, they're able to be protected to do their marches, but it doesn't have a good outcome. But that is under constitutional law, that you can go out there and protest, you can go out there and pound your belief system. But when you incite violence and all of that, which, anytime you do that, yeah, you can't be too upset of the outcome. But on Facebook, it's not the extension of the Constitution. So if they have rules that change how in which you say and what you say, then just find a different way to say it. YouTube's the same way. It's a private organization. People have this whole thing that, oh God, the internet, I can say like on my, well, see, here's the thing. When you're advertising like, a book or medical claims, you can't make, or medical stuff or holistic or whatever approaches that you have, you can't make any claims because it has to be proven through their specific methodologies. Okay? And since the medical community comes from a very different model than I'm coming from, there's no claims that I can make None, because they wouldn't fit within their double-blind studies to warrant me making those claims to then be acceptable by the Federal Trade Commission. So I leave my website very benign. But let's say I'm not selling a book. I'm not selling anything. Let's say there's nothing sold on my website. I'm not making any claims about anything medical. I can say pretty much almost anything I want. I can have a website that says, oh, I don't like this, or I like that, or I hate this, or I hate that. And no one cares. You can say whatever the hell you want. Okay? But then where it becomes issues is when you're selling something and you're triggering the Federal Trade Commission, and that's where those different entities get involved. Okay? But Facebook is totally different. So yeah, they're cracking down on some of the politics, especially in the medical side. So maybe it's time that you learn how to speak in a different way about it and understand the reasoning behind all of the different arguments, so you don't come off as blaming someone or demonizing or imposing your view. There are ways in which you can approach things that I'm learning without triggering a political platform or an entity. Okay, so I'm thinking that my menses is the releasing of all of this stuff that that wasn't super aligned with what I was saying, but finally, now that I'm like kind of left with like, okay, now what's next? Well, it's because now I've said, okay, if you got to do your cannabis, not saying, but see, I'm still, if you're not doing J juice, yes, I'm very concerned with the cannabis, the drug industry. I'm very concerned with all the different protocols out there for the cancer, disease, and chronic illness methods and protocols that try to cure. Yes, I'm still very concerned about that. But I get why people do it, because they're looking for short-term benefits and not understanding that there's long-term negative consequences. Negative long-term consequences. But I understand why people are asking for the short-term stuff, because that's all they can think about is for now, which I understand, think about only today. But the whole paradox of it, because yeah, we can't predict tomorrow. There's no way to predict tomorrow. But when you look at the science, when you can't even mix AB positive blood with O negative blood, there are blood type incompatibilities for a reason. But you have to understand what blood types are. Blood types is surface marker antigen that turns into antibodies. But that surface marker antigen is blood type A and blood type B. And then the Rh factor is positive or negative. That's antibodies. Okay? So, and then we have to look at, okay, well, if you're taking on all these antibodies all the time to manage your cancer and disease, how is that different than having blood type incompatibilities? When you are so full of antibodies, it destroys good tissue. Not only may trigger autoimmunity, but it also rapidly ages a person. So that's how you have to, now since you can't predict the future, since people are so short-sighted, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to live forever or I'm going to live past this, but hey, there is this cure that's so revolutionary that they're doing experimental that cured this guy's HIV. Well, it probably took away the infection. What it was is no different than the peanut allergy. You're giving them peanut antigen that creates antibodies that goes after the allergy. But it's but now you're creating now you're putting in all these natural killer cells. You're pumping that child or that human with a bunch of antibodies. And then over time, yeah, then you're like, okay, well, now we're going to dilute the antibodies with this. Okay. But they're missing is the one main component is strategic nutrition. They haven't fixed the mutations. So they can do all these things to kind of balance out how many antibodies they get over time. And then, okay, it cures the cancer. And so what? Okay, so now, so that they don't have not the cancer. Well, yeah, the cancer or the HIV positive. So now they're HIV negative, but they really still have the antibody. However, they're not doing anything strategic with the nutrition. They're just doing these stem cells. So once the stem cells get purged out of the body, they're still back to square one. They haven't done anything that revolutionary. But it's a very temporary stay of execution. So yeah, that's what I worry about. is that people are not understanding the science behind these methodologies of their short-term cures. They're just looking for the quick fix. And then in the end, their claim to fame is, oh, I'm a twice cancer survivor. I'm a 3 times cancer survivor. Well, shit, how the hell did you get it the second time? What the hell? And the third time, and the fourth time, and then damn, wow, she's dead. Why is she dead? Well, hold on a second. On her headstone, she is a twice cancer survivor. That's her claim to fame. So, hey, she died. Okay, that sucks. Her family goes, that sucks, but guess what? She's a twice cancer survivor, and these are her methodologies. She used this, this, and this. And she's probably telling everybody, oh yeah, I'm a twice cancer survivor. Twice. Here are my methodologies. And then what's a third time, and she doesn't survive that, the third time, they're going to ignore that she died. Oh yeah, well, she's supposed to have died. They're going to say, hey, you should do her protocol. It doesn't matter that she's dead or anything, but just do her protocol. Because she did it. She did it. She survived it twice. Yeah, Tiffany. So yeah, this whole thing of being a twice cancer survivor doesn't impress me, because that third time, man, and being, a cancer survivor really isn't revolutionary anymore, because you're not, that's just under stay of execution. I don't want someone's claim to fame when they're dead that they survived cancer, but they died from leukemia. I don't want someone's claim to fame is, oh yeah, I fixed my thyroid condition, but I died from Parkinson's. I mean, that's what you're basically doing when you're playing in the allopathic holistic market solely, only their methods. You're not doing J-juice. Is that you're going to be one of those that says you survived a disease from this method in the allopathic holistic, but now you have another conglomeration of diseases, and then you pass away, but yay, your claim to fame was that you survived autism, you survived cancer, you survived this, you survived that. So yeah, so here's the thing, what's going to unite everybody is just do the J-juice with whatever methodology that you're doing. So if you're doing stem cells and you're doing J-juice, well, you may think that, hey, stem cells are great and that's your feeling of security, but do J-juice. Yeah, the J-juice is probably going to purge out the stem cells, but it's also going to rebuild the cells that you should be rebuilding and regenerating, not taking on somebody else's DNA, even your own DNA, because guess what? That DNA has already been programmed. And then your lifestyle is going to accelerate those stem cells to then catch up with everybody else. I mean, seriously. People say, oh yeah, well, they're using your own DNA. They're regrowing your own bone marrow or something, and they're replacing it. And then, yeah, you see a stay of execution for a minute. But then remember, the body adapts to the current climate and the current conditions. You're not going to be replacing all of your cells with a few stem cells. So the body is going to adapt and purge out, or everything is going to assimilate. So those baby stem cells that may have given you a stay of execution is not going to last very long. None of these methods in the allopathic holistic market last very long. They give you a temporary stay of execution to give you the numbers, say, oh yeah, I won. Oh, but damn, a year later, 2 years later, I'm back to square one again. So I don't want you guys or anybody to go through that type of situation. Bring in the J-juice. But I know people are going to experiment with cannabis, do chemotherapy, do all the different drugs, the thyroid drugs, taking in all of the hormones, because every single drug out there and every single supplement out there, every single detox out there is hormone replacement therapy. There is a hormone for every single mechanism in your body. Okay? And chemical as well as how it interacts. So I know I was talking to somebody yesterday about, chemical, like ascension, and she's looking at energy as being something different than hormones. And I'm saying, no, they're actually completely the same, but it's your hormones and how they interact with other elements that are out there. And some of the other elements are not necessarily chemicals. They're gases. Okay? That's what DNA methylation is. DNA methylation is using elements that could be actual liquid, or it could be a gas that then mutates specific cells to manifest in a mutation or some other type of manifestation, which was a mutation. Okay, so your hormones, the body, mind, and spirit. The spirit is actually a conglomeration of your body and mind, but the body, mind, and spirit is separated in the market out there because there is a business with the body, there's a business with the mind, and there's a business with the spirit, religion, hormones. Okay, there's a business with the mind, mental illness, mind control. Okay, programming. There's a business with the body. How can we manipulate the body? Cut off limbs, cut out organs, manipulate with all these different gases and liquids that are part of the elemental composition of the universe, the periodic tables. So the universe has an impact on all of your systems. Yes, there's different names for it, so we can kind of speak the same language and have a little bit of differentiation to understand context. But there are laws in your body that are being either adhered to or violated. So if you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, guess what? You've been violating the laws of your body and your immune system. And you have no one to blame but yourself because you're looking for the quick stuff. You're not asking the right questions. And so, you know, when you are living indefinite life, indefinitely, because you understand cellular regeneration, you understand how the elements out there, outside of your body, impact your inside, and that environments are infinite fractals. There's an environment with an environment with an environment with an environment, and everything has rules and laws. And so the only thing you have to understand is how that environment, how your internal environment, how it gets impacted by the outside external world. And are you abiding by the laws, or are you violating the laws? And if you're violating the laws of your internal environment, there's consequences, major consequences. And so when you are practicing methodologies in the allopathic holistic world, you're asking for shortcuts, and they're going to give you the shortcuts, but that's a violation of the laws of your body. How many protocols and how many methodologies and how many procedures are you going to undergo before the body finally gives out? You got to ask yourself, is your claim to fame should be a twice cancer survivor? Is your claim to fame to be a 3-time survivor of some disease? And then when you die, the only thing they could say at your wake is, hey, he survived cancer for at least 3 or 4 times. I mean, come on, that doesn't really make sense why anyone would aspire to that. Right now, some of you are very beautiful, young, you have a few issues that the system is managing for you. They're playing with your hormones. But over time, that's going to destroy your body. Over time, you're going to see degradation, and you're going to wonder why. Well, because you've been asking for shortcuts. You don't truly understand the laws of your body and the Jilly Juice protocol, because the Jilly Juice protocol adheres to every single law of the human body. But you're too tied in with the system. You're too much into the shortcuts that you haven't really given Jilly Juice a chance. And you haven't been following me too closely. But lately, I've had a lot of revelations. The big one with the whole thing with pain is when you are taking anti-inflammatories and doing all these different procedures and taking in antibiotics and detoxes, you are inhibiting a very important hormone that should be coming to surface. And that is the prostaglandin hormone, the pain hormone that aids in the healing process. So when you are doing all these procedures and taking in the pills, powder supplements, and drugs, and prescription drugs, and the over-the-counter drugs, and the protocols, and the hormones, and whatever, you are inhibiting your body from working correctly and healing correctly. And then guess what? Every single time you take in a hormone, you are now mutating your body even more. And then your body keeps breaking down more and more after, and then you start seeing your eyesight going, you start seeing your hair falling out, you start seeing a lot of different things. A lot. Okay. So yeah, it's up to you. I mean, if you believe in death and that's your religion, you believe in death, and there's no reason why you should be doing Jilly Juice. Go ahead, hang out. There's no reason why you should be even trying all the different protocols in the system. Just do whatever the system tells you if you believe in death. But if you believe in life, then you really have to have your body, mind, and your spirit all aligned, and then your actions and your words must be aligned. Pro-life is not just for babies. Pro-life is for grannies too. See, this whole thing that trips me out is why it is that babies and grannies are revered and completely disposable. That's the revelation that I've just been like tripping on. The revelation that grannies and babies are disposable and revered. Why is that? Because we have people who are imbalanced. To be a baby, you're coming from a mutation. That's imbalance. When you're a granny, that's a mutation because you're imbalanced. Those two are very imbalanced sides of the spectrum. And I hope that these children survive to get to middle age, but then when they start degrading, then they violate the laws. So it comes full circle. It's karma. When you're a baby to a grandma, that's karma because you haven't figured out how to stay balanced in the middle. Okay? What's that middle? When you when you are 100% healthy and you've brought your body back to where it was relatively way better than where it is today. Now, some of you are only 20 years old, but you're still mutated. You came into this world mutated. But maybe you do J-juice and you're 20 years old and you don't ever look a day over 30 or a day over 20. That's what you have to look forward to if you're 20 or 30 years old doing J-juice. But if you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, yeah, you got to be dialing back the years and you're going to start seeing your body change. And that's what you're going to, is going back to the center, not going to death and decay, but not going all the way back to like being a baby. Balance is when you're not a baby or an infant or a grandma. Because you see, a baby and an infant is very helpless. So are grandmas and grandpas. Babies and infants don't speak very well. They are growing. But then the other side of it is then the grandmas, they can't speak very well and they're losing their faculties. That's a severe imbalance. So at some point somewhere, yes, grandmas are revered, but then they're disposable. Look at all of the nursing homes out there. These CNAs do the best they can. Some of them are very mutated and you see abuse that happens. So it makes you wonder, really, should you be shooting for being a baby? Should you be shooting for being a grandma? Or should you be shooting for somewhere in the middle? Okay, that's what true balance is. When there's no demons out there, there's nobody you can demonize and get on a platform. There's no president that's going to be your savior. There's no anybody. It really, truly is you. And then if there is a force out there that wants to destroy humanity or each other, then collectively humanity will go and fight off whatever those demons are. It hasn't happened yet, but we have all these scares. Oh God, North Korea has all these nukes. Or oh God, they're selling missiles to Saudi Arabia. Oh God, let's just beat the war drums yet again. So let's get off of that, pay attention to finding that balance, and then we won't have people writing articles, or we won't have our world leaders playing with our emotions, playing with our hormones, trying to get us all scared and like, oh my God. So you got to shoot. So balance is when you're not revering a baby and you're not revering grandma, and they both deserve to live right there in the middle. Okay, and we have people that have stunted growth. All of the hormones, HG, their human growth hormone, and some other hormones are all misfiring and mutated because of the fact that of the practices violating the laws of the body. So you're seeing some people that are rapidly aging, so rapidly, and so their lifespan is cut short. And there's some people that are just not really, maturing fast enough. They're staying at a certain cognitive level and a physical level for the rest of their life. Okay? That's a mutation in the body because we have a life cycle. And the reason why you're born is because somebody else is dying behind you. That's your parents. When you are born, your parents are dying. They're on a death trajectory. That's where reproduction comes from. And so now that you're a child and you have parents that maybe understand Julie Juice, now they've given you a wonderful platform to where you won't have to go all the way to where grandma is. And that you will develop at the rate that you should relative to what nature intended. And you can't determine what nature, as long as you give the body what it needs, the right elements, the right probiotics, not the wrong ones, but the right ones, then the body will mature to a certain point and then stay there. And then guess what? That child that got an excellent foundation, it reached the age of 30, accomplishes so much. And then guess what? They're going to stay there. They're not going to age like you unless you're reversing your aging process and doing J-juice. But they're going to stay there and be so good at their job. They're going to be like the best at whatever they're doing. They're not going to be degrading because of some disease that gets triggered because they have all these antibodies swimming around in their body waiting to trigger when all the times are right, when all the conditions are right. That's what happens right now in all of these kids because the parents have mutations. The natural immunity through breast milk gets passed down to the child. So the kid now has the mutations. They may not come to surface right away, but then they get all these vaccines, which, okay, that's fine. Get the vaccines, get your protection, or go to a measles party, or go get a homeoprophylaxis. So now you have this protection, but now you do J-juice to then dilute the antibodies once you prove that you have the protection to the government. You satisfy government requirements, then you do J-juice, dilute the antibodies, dilute the cancer and yeast, and then dilute and then keep your hormones all well balanced. And then guess what? You know, they're great, but if you're not doing J-juice and they're taking on all of your mutations and natural immunity, and they're getting the vaccines or exposed to other kids that are vaccinated, and they're taking homeoprophylaxis, they're going to have all of these triggers in their body. They're going to multiply and multiply. And then one day when they're 25 or 30 and they're in the middle of their high-powered career, they drop from an autoimmune disorder. Not drop like die. No, one day they can't get out of bed. One day they just give up everything and run off. One day everything goes cuckoo. And you're like, what the hell happened? Oh yeah, it's all those backdoor triggers that you never addressed. That is what goes on right now in our society unless you do J-juice. If you don't do J-juice, you are rolling the dice every single time. Every single day you're rolling the dice because you have no idea what you're bringing to the table. You haven't done a titer test on yourself, so you have no idea what's swimming around you. But you see these red flags. You see eczema. You see thyroid issues. You see a lot of stuff. But you're ignoring it. You're thinking that, oh yeah, that it'll heal itself. Oh no, honey, it doesn't go away. You can stick your head in the sand all you want, but it doesn't go away. What makes it go away is strategic nutrition, not ignoring it or using the procedures out there that are manipulating your hormones. No, what makes it go away is strategic nutrition. Now, if you want to do this other stuff and do J-juice, by all means, those two can be conjoined. But if you just don't do J-juice at all and you just do the procedures out there, then yes, you will be like Granny. And it's okay. It's not like it's anything bad or wrong, but you won't know when it's going to hit. Living to be 90 or 80 is an extreme. You'd be extremely lucky if you live to be 80 or 90 in this day and age, especially with the way things are going. I mean, we have 5G, which is not horrible if you're doing J-juice. You have the chemtrails, which is not horrible if you're doing J-juice. You have all the different pollutions and all the different vaccines. Not horrible if you're doing J-juice. So what are you going to do to counter that when the society is ramping up? And when you're seeing so many mutations now more than ever? I mean, you looked at the vaccine schedule. Now, there's nothing wrong with the vaccine schedule. That's just a reflection of the mutations in humanity. The vaccine schedule is a reflection of the mutations in humanity. That's what you're up against. So whether or not you've been vaccinated with all those vaccines, there are people that have, and you're exposed to them, which means you're taking on all of those pathogens and the different exotic conglomerations of them that who knows how that's going to manifest in your body with your biochemistry. So it's like avoiding the vaccines is not going to be the answer. There is no prevention out there. You can't prevent pathogens and you can't prevent healing. People try to prevent healing. That's called the antibiotics, anti-inflammatory, holistic, allopathic. Pain is healing. So if you can't prevent pain and you can't prevent healing and you can't prevent pathogens, then what do you promote? You promote Jilly Juice. You do, Julie, just understand what's behind it, because there is no prevention out there, honeys. You don't live in a bubble. And those are the major revelations that I received and figured out the last couple days. And it took yesterday an upset of homeostasis to really understand truly where I am at now today. And it is a mourning. It reminds me of when I first discovered the conspiracies. And that was, I was on my husband's truck and I discovered Alex Jones. So I had a world that I knew, the mainstream world. I loved Obama, but I was getting kind of weird about the whole thing with the Enron, not Enron, but the mortgage stuff. So I had some issues with Obama because I'm like, that's some weird stuff. Right, Tiffany. And then I read Alex Jones, or listened to Alex Jones. Then I read all these websites and all of these YouTube videos, and I had plenty of time to watch YouTube on my husband's truck because we were on the road together for 6 months, living on the road together in the back of a truck. And I was depressed. I was so depressed. I was like, oh my God, everything I thought I knew is not what I knew. Like, and that was the beginning. 8 years of the conspiracy programming, basically my whole marriage. As soon as my husband and I, we got together in 2010, like we met together in 2010, and then I came out here in 2011. We got married in 2011. We went on the truck around like November of 2011. And then it was like 2012 was then I started programming my head with the conspiracy stuff, the anti-government stuff, the chemtrail stuff, the anti-vax stuff for 8 freaking years. 8 years. And then yesterday, all of those 8 years of everything is down the drain. Down the drain. And it is a mourning of a former self. So I guess my period came at the right time. It's washing away all of that toxic shit that I've accumulated over the last 8 years. So yeah, there's no wonder I had an upset of homeostasis yesterday, because I finally came to terms with where I am today. And then of course it's the anniversary of Dr. Phil, of me saying, okay, I'm going to do the Dr. Phil show. It's like, okay, universe, what else? What other message you want to give me today? I'm all ready for it. No higher power telling me no. It's just the revelations that I have, and the anniversaries of very specific events, very significant events, and I come a long way in a year. I really have come a long way in a year. And I've come a long way since 2012. So yeah, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We're in 2019, and all of my conspiracies, my anti-vax, the holistic, everything. Moon and Diva too. Okay, Tiffany. All of that's washed away. And now it's washed away with my waterfalls, with my menses, with all of that. And so it's like, it's significant. It really is. So I don't know how my juice is going to affect you, but you're going to have your own revelations, your own awakenings. You're going to start seeing yourself be reacting and contributing in such different ways. And it's going to put yourself and your family and your children on a very different level. Very different. But you have to actually do the juice to experience that. I can't tell you how this juice is going to manifest in your life, because you have all of your own unique experiences that only you will know. I can't tell you. I can only tell you my experiences, because my experiences are going to be no different really in how it manifests than yours. Yours just has a different location, different situation, but we're all on the same earth with the same expectations, with the same culture. So we all have relatively kind of the same stuff, but it's going to manifest differently. Okay? So it would behoove you to integrate Jilly Juice somewhere in whatever it is that you're doing. I don't care what it is, because I don't want your claim to fame be a twice cancer survivor that died from leukemia. Okay? You don't need to have that claim to fame. That's not something to be proud of. And if you're afraid of J Juice, I'd be more afraid of the third time of cancer or some other crazy disease that you've never ever had because you never really faced and got to the root of the current disease that you're dealing with right now today. Okay? So yeah, I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But whatever. I'm gonna write some stuff for the book. And yeah. So yeah, when I cut my hand, like when I fell down the stairs and I had to grab branches, that's a little tiny cut. Yeah, I know, no big deal. But whatever, it's pain, but it's the prostaglandin hormone that came to surface, and I didn't deny it. I just soaked my hand in the juice and everything is great. The juice is going to be your friend. The juice is going to be everything you ever wanted. It is. But like Tiffany said, no pain, no gain. But you have to utilize pain in the right context. Don't have pain just be something that you do with no return on your investment. Make sure you get a complete return on your investment. Make sure you do. Because if not, then what's the point? Okay. So go to jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com, and send us the receipt. There are some questions we'll answer, others there's no answer that we can give you. When somebody asks me this question, which I'm not going to answer, okay, I'm not going to answer this question, but I'll tell you what the question was. If somebody has a dangerous level of high blood pressure, how would they do the J juice? I'm going to say, if you think you're in a dangerous level of high blood pressure, go to your doctor. This protocol isn't for you. But I'm not even going to say that to her. I'm just not even going to answer the question. Because no matter what, she's either going to do the J juice or she's going to go to her doctor. But this is for all of you. If you think you're in a dangerous level of any type of medical situation, go to your doctor. If you have to ask that question, it means that you don't know what you're doing. Go to your doctor. Stay in the system. Don't do J juice. It's not for you. Good luck. And that's it. Remember, you have choices. Either you understand the information or you don't. But I'm not your doctor. I'm never going to tell you something that you're going to blame me for if it doesn't work out the way you expect. Ever. The ball is in your court. It will always be in your court. When you are balanced, you won't be blaming anybody but yourself. When you are imbalanced, you're going to be asking everybody to make decisions for you. And then when they don't turn out, you blame them. But when they do turn out, you're like, oh yeah, I guess what I did. Yeah, that's not the spirit of J Juice. Not at all. All right. Have a good day, guys. Bye.